Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Today, super excited to share with you guys another amazing fragrance by a brand that has become one of my favorites in my collection, one of my most worn brands, and that is the House of Zaharoff. So I met George Zaharoff several years ago, never in person, but we've exchanged a few phone conversations and of course many emails, and I discovered his brand way back in the day before there was a lot of hype about him. And I don't mean the word hype is it because some brands get hyped and they don't deserve it. This is one brand that absolutely does. And I discovered his brand mainly because I'm a real fan of oud fragrances, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I discovered his brand on, I don't know if it was on one of the fragrance websites or if it was on, like, something tells me it was almost like on, like, and don't quote me here, like a Indiegogo or Kickstarter, something like that. And maybe I'm mistaken, but I reached out to Zaharoff. And a lot of times when it comes to fragrances, there's lots of houses out there. There's lots of different companies out there making fragrances. And I will say, and I've said it before, the fragrance community, I think, is a lot more open-minded, a lot more, I think, kinder than the watch community. I think that people in the fragrance community generally have an open mind for things that, even if it's not something they would wear on a daily basis, I think a lot of guys who really appreciate fragrances and collecting colognes really appreciate any fragrance or cologne, even if it's something that it's not maybe their favorite. It's still one to have in the collection. There's always a time and a place for different fragrances. Fragrances, for me, a little bit about my background, I started collecting fragrances probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Prior to that, I always wore Peril's 360, and a coworker of mine actually was really into the fragrances and into collecting, and he had several different ones. And I started getting involved in smelling things like 1 Million, and it kind of opened up my eyes a little bit, and opened up my nose to wear things that in the past I probably wouldn't even really thought about, but that started the journey, and since then I absolutely love picking up a new fragrance. I tend to blind buy a lot of fragrances that are the cheapies, under 25, under 30 bucks. You can read about the notes and figure if it's something that you might like, but ultimately at the end of the day, most fragrances out there are nice. It doesn't matter if you pay $15 or $500. There are differences, but not. At the end of the day, one's going to last longer than the other. That's really what it comes down to. It's the concentration. Some are a little more synthetic than others, more alcohol, but again, that comes down to concentration. So with Zaharoff, you're getting a real quality juice. In my opinion, almost at designer level, prices. I started wearing his signature, Zaharoff signature Pour Homme about 5 years ago. I went through most of the bottle pretty quickly. I love it, and every time I smell it, it reminds me of a moment in my life. And at that time, it was a moment where I was going to this one bar quite often. It was kind of like my spot, like my Cheers. And it always reminds me of that, Even though those drinking days of IPAs are done, it doesn't mean I didn't, enjoy that time in my life. And there's more important, it just, life changes as we grow, right? So it just always reminds me of those fun times, kicking it at the bar. And it probably always will. And that's the thing about scent for me personally, is it almost imprints a memory in your brain. So when you smell something, it brings you right back. Now, I don't mean to carry on too much longer. You can see I'm very passionate about fragrances. It's an emotional experience for me. So this one here is fantastic. And this is their newest release, or one of their newest releases. This is Signature Rosé, and it is pronounced Rosé. Obviously, I do like the color pink, so right off the bat, there's something about it. I'm drawn to it, right? And again, everybody has a favorite color. I'm not saying that pink is my favorite color. I don't actually have a favorite color, but I do like the color pink, and I love the fact that this is a very pink juice, right? Classic Zaharoff bottle. Kind of looks like almost like a almost like a flask. It's got a curve to the back, like you'd stick it in your pocket, you know. The other Zaharoff fragrances, same thing, just different color juice. I like the fact that it's simple, it's clean. There's really no need to go overboard with the bottle because ultimately it's just to spray the juice. I don't get involved in the atomizer. Ultimately, if it comes out of there, it comes out, right? Atomizer is not super fine, but it's right in between. It's just a decent atomizer you'd find on any decent cologne. Even $20 colognes have good. This is not rocket science, like I always, you know, I like to joke about that. This is pretty basic stuff. So you have the Zaharoff branding, the name, signature rosé in that sweet pink juice. Obviously, I wore the pink polo today. Ralph Lauren polo shirt. These t-shirts, I love them. Super cheap. They're comfortable, and it's fitting for the occasion, right? As far as the box, the presentation, again, you guys know I never really get, you know, all pumped up. I'm more interested in what it smells like, but I do like the presentation of all the colognes that I have in my collection, over, I don't know, 200, 300. Not all full bottles, but a lot of bottles I purchased, a lot I've received. You know, Zaharoff is one of the only boxes that I keep. I don't know what it is about it, just something about the box. It's clean, it's simple. I don't know. I can't really give you a better answer than that. So you open it up here, just basic kind of, you know, rosé interior. You know, a little bit of branding on the sides. Nothing, you know, again, you know, it's a box, you know. That's about it. But let's talk about the juice, because this is one, and I'll be honest with you guys, when Zaharoff sent me his last 2 releases, what was it? I don't know, maybe about a year ago. They were pretty much, in my opinion, very similar to the original Pour Homme by Zaharoff, right? Which, don't get me wrong, I love them, but there were subtle differences. And unless you have a pretty strong nose, I've said it before that I recommend you really probably only need one of those 3. With this is a completely different juice. There's a Zaharoff DNA in there. You know it's a Zaharoff, but it's a completely different fragrance. So that's one thing that I like to have in my collection of things that smell different. You know, I don't really want one of the, like I have a clone of Creed Aventus. 1, 2, that's it. I don't need any more. They're so good. They're so close. I'm not going to spend, you know, $300 for the actual legitimate one because nobody can tell the difference anyway. But you have a couple. If I need to replace one, I will at some point once I'm out of it, if I want to add it back to the collection. But I don't want to have fragrances that smell the same, you know. And so my disappointment a lot of times with fragrances that I get my hands on, especially when I blind buy some of the cheapies, is when I get something I'm like, oh man, this is just a repurposed, rebranded, you know, Spice One or 1 Million, and there's tons of them out there. I love when I get my hands on something that is just different. Doesn't matter if it's the world's best fragrance or if it's, you know, light years different, just different. So I love the fact that Zaharoff took this angle on this here. He really made a fragrance that is completely different from the original Zaharoff. It's got the Zaharoff DNA. You can still tell it has a little bit of that original Zaharoff branding, but not much. It's really a different fragrance. Now, I will say, though, now this is, this is a rose-based fragrance. And if you like rose, which I never liked rose in the past, absolutely love it now. Something extremely sophisticated about a rose-based cologne or fragrance. This is fantastic. I do think this leans more towards masculine, towards the men, but this can definitely be worn by a woman as well. I do think this is kind of unisex. Let me talk a little bit about what we have in this. So again, when I review fragrances, there's lots of guys out there who are much more skilled than me, who can articulate much better than me. I'm giving you guys what I get from it. And if we share similar tastes based on what I like, then you might like this fragrance as well. Ultimately, fragrance collecting and wearing these things is very subjective, so everybody likes something different. Now, I will tell you that this can be a fragrance that can be overdone. And for me to say that, I'm a 10 spray guy. For me to say that is saying a lot. And there's not a lot of fragrance that I've worn that I can't go 5 or more on. This is one that I can almost go 1 on. And it is pretty powerful. Now, I believe this is an Eau de Parfum concentration, so that might explain its concentration. In your top notes, you have Turkish Rose. Now, I don't want to... One thing Zaharoff does on all their notes is they tell you the location. I'd rather you guys just click the link and read more about it. I'm just going to tell you guys what the note is, right? So in the top notes, you have Turkish Rose, and then you have Rose Otto. I think I'm saying that correctly. In the middle notes are heart notes. You have Gold Amber, jasmine, red peony. I think I'm saying that right. I always butcher these things. And of course, Bulgarian rose. Then in your bottom notes, you have sandalwood. There's where the woodiness comes in. Vanilla bean, you can't go wrong with vanilla bean. Sugar cane, it does have a sweetness to it. If you've ever smelled a fragrance such as like Ragba, it's one of my favorites. It's a very sweet. It can be very overdone, and I think the sweet fragrances, you do have to be a little careful on the trigger. Oud, of course. Myrrh, one of my other favorites, and labdanum tears. Or frankincense. So those are notes that I really like in fragrances. There's something exotic and fun about these fragrances. I shouldn't really say they're fun for me. There's something just exotic and sexy about them is the best way I could describe it. So you get tons of rosiness. If you don't like rose, this is not your fragrance. I will tell you that I don't know if this is one that I would blind buy. If you've never worn, it's it's amazing, guys. It's frigging amazing. But I do think that it's something that you should probably smell beforehand because it is a heavy scent and it is a heavy rose sweet. I don't want to call it cloying because that is subjective as well. But again, if I were to spray too much of this on it, I would probably have to shower. I would think this is coming from me, guys, 2 spray max. And it will radiate, and it will radiate well. It's a fantastic fragrance. Not heavy on the oud. I don't think that you're going to smell this and say, oh yeah, it's a heavy oud fragrance. It's very, very subtle. Just like in the original Zaharoff Pour Homme, it was very subtle. It's there. There's a slight woodiness, but it's fantastic. Now, I have to tell you, there are fragrances that are similar that I might, from my nose, kind of compare this to. If you've ever smelled, and not to say that this smells like those fragrances, and this is why I'm very excited about this fragrance, because there's a couple that I have that I really like that, again, I go light on the trigger figure, except for Ferrari. Ferrari, I think it's Rose Oud or Ferrari Oud. It's a red bottle one. It can be had for about 35 bucks. It's got a similarity. So if you've smelled Ferrari, or if you want to go with a really inexpensive, cheapy Frank Olivier Oud Touch or Oud Vanille, those have a similar kind of vibe, but when you smell this compared to those 3, and I did the side-by-side comparisons, there's definitely a difference. It's definitely its own thing. This is not something that you're going to get this and say, oh man, this has been repurposed. This is its own thing. It has that Zaharoff DNA, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a fantastic scent. I don't think that this is a scent that I would personally wear every single day. I think the original Pour Homme is something that you can, and I did wear every single day. I think this is more of a special occasion kind of fragrance. Again, that's just my opinion. You can wear, and I hate sometimes doing that because guys want to, especially cologne nerds, you know, and I'm kind of one of them too. A lot of guys will just be like, oh man, you can only wear this for special occasions, date night, all that nonsense. You know, I do think it's something that you might not, me personally, I wouldn't want to wear this every single day, but you know, hitting up the casino, I mean, I can give you, again, I'm nerding out, you know, I think that you can wear anything whenever you want. Now, I do think I will give some of these guys a little bit of, kind of agree a little bit. There are some fragrances that do better in colder temperatures. I think this is a little much for hot summertime, but I wore it. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying you can't. There's no rules. What I want you guys to always get is whatever I say, whatever anybody else says about fragrances, there are no rules to fragrances. You wear them how you want. You put on as much as you want. You do it for you and only you. You know, again, if you're married or you have a relationship and your girl likes it, oh, get this. Fine, you know, whatever makes you or her happy, that's your business. But for me, I wear fragrances for myself. It's always great to get a compliment, and this is one that'll definitely get you a compliment. It's a beautiful scent, it's sophisticated, and it's something that you're not gonna. One thing I'm always very I look forward to is when I walk into a room smelling unique. I don't want to smell like, you know, there are safe fragrances out there. Acqua di Gio, you know, I love it. It's great fragrance. You know. What's one that I went through most of the bottle? Sauvage, great fragrance, very great. I mean, amazing. But you know, those are the ones that you're gonna bump into people wearing it. You know, I mean, you go. I don't club anymore, but you know, I mean, in a club, you want to kind of stand out, and it's hard to do that with. Thing is, a lot of people go buy fragrances, they go into their big box stores, they buy something, right? With this, you're not going to find this in many big box stores. The only place you can get Zaharoff, I believe, is Nordstrom's and through the website. So again, links in the description. Check it out. If you like rose fragrances, pick this up. This will probably be one of your favorites. It's that good. I love it. It's got that woodiness. It's got that masculine quality, but it's got that soft, sexy side to it as well. If I'm describing that, nerding out a little bit, but with fragrances, that's kind of how it is. Again, get other guys' takes on it. Look at the notes. Again, click. I don't know if this is on Fragrantica, but click the link in the description. You can go to the website and see if it's something that you want to add to your collection. I think if you have the original Zaharoff Pour Homme and you like it as much as I do, pick this up. Now, they did come out with a few other releases, and I do want to share those with you guys as well. I have to tell you, I was so excited to get the rose that I didn't really expect to be blown away by any of the other ones. And I gotta tell you, I'm sure George will watch this. I hope that I can get some full bottles of these, because these are ones that are gonna go quick. So, the Siren, man, fantastic. Business Pleasure and Brass Soul. I'm not going to get involved in telling you guys about the notes on these. I'd like you to just click the link and read about them. I will tell you that there's something about the Siren that has this, again, that sexiness to it. Kind of reminds me of a Paul Kyler or PK, PK Parfums. Is it PK or Imaginary Authors? There's one that I think, no, it's Imaginary Authors that they make that has like this clay kind of note to it. It's been a while since I've looked at the notes, but there's this kind of earthiness to it. And I don't mean like Encre Noir earthiness, I mean, or like vetiver or anything like that. It's got this clayish kind of note. Reminds me of pottery almost. And this kind of has that. Business Pleasure, I mean, these are, I remember I smelled some of these the other day, and I got a little bit on my finger, and I even took a shower, and then later on throughout the day, I'm just like leaning up against my hand. I keep getting this whiff, and I kept smelling my fingers, and I'm like, I believe it was Brass Soul. But I haven't tested these enough to really know which one it was. But I can tell you that all three of these are good. And all three of these, it's refreshing to get fragrances that don't smell like something else, and it's hard out there nowadays because there's so many houses making things. It's really hard to get things that are unique. You can go super unique, but then it's like some of those things are pretty tough to wear. When you start looking at brands like Zoologist, amazing stuff, but some can be a little tough to wear at times. There's really a time and a place. With these are like just unique, safe scents as well. So definitely check these out as well. Click the link. Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. I'll always do my best to help you guys out. Again, I want to thank Mr. Zaharoff again for his generosity. It's always a pleasure to get one of their fragrances. It's one of the companies that I work with often that it's always great to get. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and be like, like it's not, free. You're only doing this for this or that. With YouTube, there's revenue involved in YouTube. There's referral links. As you guys know, anytime you click a link, if you find value in what I do in my video, you click a link. Most of those links sometimes, well, not all the time, most of the time, those are affiliate links. I do get a small commission back. I always tell people, buy where you feel most comfortable. You're going to get the best deal, where you think you're going to get the best service. Always, it's your choice ultimately. I do appreciate you use my link, obviously, but, I get free stuff, is my point. And it's a great thing to have a YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun getting these cool products. Every day is like Christmas. But there are the companies, I'm getting to it. There are these companies that when I work with them that I'm so excited when they get something new and I get to share it. Zaharoff is one of those brands. I know that anytime I get something from them, it's going to be high quality, it's going to be great, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. So I hope that you pick some of this stuff up and you'll get to experience what I'm talking about. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you do like the content, subscribe to the channel. Again, any questions, shoot me an email, drop me a comment. I get back to those comments every single day. I won't leave you hanging. And George, thanks again, brother. Appreciate it. You guys have a great evening and take care.